been about, God, more years than I'd like to admit that I've been running my own machine shop. I left a thankless engineering career. I'll talk more about my feelings on engineering in other videos. But I built a hell of a shop. Kind of, I've had my fair share of customers. I've, for a while maintained enough workflow and cash flow to keep it going, keep acquiring more toys, keep learning. In some ways, as much as it pains me to admit it, I've been almost like an academic, putting knowledge and learning processes above financial gains. And I still kind of feel that way. I'm not ashamed to admit that, money isn't my main pursuit. And frankly, we live in a world where they print the shit. They print the shit and they give it to, obedient people. It's shameful. We're in a time in history where it's like, you know, having access to capital really isn't something to be proud of. It's almost something to be ashamed of. The stuff they build, I don't even like most of it. I don't like the new cars. I'll do videos on how I feel about the marine world, but the performance boats they build today, the boating world is, I call them boomer boats. They're the threat on offshore only. These are not, poverty-stricken guys are talking about, the golden ages of 15, 20 years ago, 25 years ago, how excited they were to be into performance boats. And that world was lots of, successful but industrious, mostly blue-collar guys who made it. And they put together a nice, 38-foot fountain, a, 34 Hustler, big Sonic. And now it's, everything is a payment. Everything is a photo for Instagram, a photo for social media. It's gross. But, my life, I'm kind of failing, I have a couple patents. I have a couple inventions I think can change the world, or at least the world I care about. And it's time for me to just try and drop all the customer work, decide I'm going to live on, my savings, my investments for a year, and roll with it and get everything in the shop up and running, tip-top shape where it needs to be. Obviously, I got tons of equipment, tons of sewing machines, gear cutting, manufacturing equipment. I got a 400-ton hydraulic press. That can do little forgings. That can do powder metallurgy. I got other presses that'll be great for composites. I'm starting to, get a feel for manufacturing things intelligently. There's lots of people that can make overpriced crap. It's not a lot of people that appreciate why we do what we do, how it can be done better. And then even something as basic as performance boats. The majority of what goes into a performance boat is there for the fit and finish. The lamps are literally designed so the gel coat doesn't flake off, or so they can have a smooth surface with no waves, no crazy in the laminates. It's like at some point you're building boats for show. Same thing with cars. We got to get out of this. There's lots of younger people that frankly this whole modern world is irrelevant to them. There's tons and tons of 20-year-olds, 30-year-olds that are they live on a computer. That's their life. They can't imagine anything more. And I need to get those people. And I care about them. Not just the ones with blonde hair, big tits. No, in all seriousness, I should be doing so much more. I can be doing so much more out of this facility. And if I keep doing what I'm doing, I'm a bigger loser than the guy that used to step over in my old shop in Philly. He just doped out on the floor. Like, it's not what you do, it's when you do it the potential you have. And I'm better than this. So, I'm done. Going forward, more social media posting, more getting out of the shop, more if I'm turning a crank, it's for a reason, or it's something that it's thankless but has to be done. And I've got myself into too many projects. I spread myself much too thin. And on the flip side, it's a lot of the thankless, brainless, not seemingly fruitful work that gives me the ideas I have. I mean, if I didn't cut so much UH&W, believe me, I wouldn't appreciate what can and can't be done with the material and where it should and shouldn't be used. There's lots and lots of thankless work. You know, I canned something recently that it was a safe bet with the shop. It was a, product that I could make. I could have a cash flow, but it was going to consume everything. It was going to cost me everything. I would have had a safe salary out of it. But I think I'm better than that. There was no big upside. In 5 years, I was going to curse myself for ever, entertaining it. And I threw away a lot of work. I threw away a lot of investment to walk away from it, but I'm 100% comfortable with that decision. And as much as it's so cringy to hear about business, and most business today are literally just they take on debt and they grow the business with more debt, and it's basically a Ponzi scheme. There's very few sustainable, legitimate businesses left. A lot of businesses, and you hear all these guys online that talking about, oh, there's all these boomers retiring, you can take over this. Most of the businesses don't make any money. At least the real ones, especially the manufacturing ones. Now there will be a resurgence in manufacturing. It's like I'm not doing this because I'm an idiot. But the traditional, standard ho-hum businesses, they're tough. I can't tell you how much equipment I bought from older guys who said, if I had walked out of the door 10 years ago, I'd be in the same place financially. They worked for 10 years thinking it would get better, thinking it would turn around. They bought that extra machine. Today it's a 5-axis mill. 15 years ago, that extra machine might have been going from screw machines to a slam bed lathe, and they bought an SL20 Haas. And they go, yeah, never paid for itself. In every industry, there's always that magical panacea. You can always buy a faster piece of equipment. The reality is, our problems are structural, our problems are financial, and they're going to work themselves out, and it's going to happen sooner than later. Now, we're still lucky. There's a lot of leftover infrastructure. The people that, know things, quote unquote, are still happy to work. As much as there's a lot of hate for the boomers. I can't tell you how many guys I talk to, they're in their 70s, sometimes in their 80s. They're still showing up for work. They don't want to stop. It makes me feel really okay. I got at least another 30 years in me. And these aren't guys that are, taking, boosting up their hormones or doing anything special. They're just guys who keep moving and don't want to work. I love work. I hated everything about school. Despised it. I look back at the majority of my teachers. I can name the college professors who were worth a damn. Most of them, they sucked. My high school teachers, abysmal. Now, granted, I went to a particularly bad high school, but still, the teachers, they're insufferable people. They exist to make learning unpalatable. That's the whole role of education in the U.S., is to keep kids tired because they have to get on a bus so they can go to school with kids from 3 neighborhoods away and have a better football team. Everybody's perpetually tired. No, you want health advice? Get enough sleep. That's the best health advice. But getting back to where I was saying, my whole life it's I've gotten a lot done. I kept my nose clean. I stayed healthy, but I still haven't lived up to my potential. It eats at me. There's things I wish I'd done, even though I know they wouldn't have worked. It infuriates me that I didn't push harder for them. I let people talk me out of them. And then there's enduring concepts. You know, there's an articulating motorcycle concept that's lived in the back of my mind for 20 years. Like, time to build a prototype, time to get with it. But that concept, that ties into, you know, the performance boats I want to build. I mean, I'm convinced you don't have to spend $1 million and build these high horsepower boats that frankly don't go anywhere. You don't see all these race boats going, you know, 100 miles there, 200 miles back. If they do, it's like a major event. It's like a poker run. You know, it's ridiculous. And then the guys who are actually racing boats, they're basically racing boats that are, you know, 30 years old. They're racing 35 Falcons. They're racing old school, heavy, you know, big block boats. Well, I have no problem with big block makes a lot of sense for boats, but there's a part of me that's like, let's build something lighter, faster. You know, even at the back of my mind, I'm not sure I'm the guy to do it, but I wonder, would a Chrysler Pentastar stay together, you know, running on the water, making, you know, 250 horsepower for 5 hours straight, or every weekend? I don't know. But if you don't do it, you'll never know. And, yeah, there's a real dearth of actual, genuine, and mechanical engineering information online. You know, we've basically given up on mechanical engineering. And it's pathetic. It's, you know, people give engineering advice and talk about that, oh, you need to know how to use this software package and this, you know. No, mechatronics, and there's nothing wrong with mechatronics, but we are so overweighted mechatronics. I don't need my toaster oven to integrate with my smartphone and my security system. We're not living as well as we lived in the 90s. You know, give me an old 1970s Clorox gas stove that just works. Give me a 1994 S10 pickup truck with a 4L60 and a, you know, 436 that just works. I mean, most of my vehicles are older. Or by today's standards, are all old. You know, the G37 is the newest thing I got. And again, you know, port injection, stick shift, keep going. Whatever it needs, it gets. You know, my old work trucks, they just work. They're simple. But yeah, I got a foundation here. I got to do a better job of documenting what I'm doing. You know, introducing people that, you know, I'm one thing, you know, the reason the channel is called Analogies in the industry is because obviously there's, you know, lots of industry here, but you make analogies between different disciplines, and that's really where a lot of intelligence and ideas come from. Like, it seems crazy that it's like, oh, you're into sewing machines, oh, you're into gear cutting machines, and you got a screw machine, but it's like the mechanical principles, they don't go anywhere. It's all the same stuff. You know, your steel alloys, they don't change. And this, you may not use the same alloy to cut a gear as you use to make a sewing machine part, but again, you use a little extra chromium there for a little corrosion resistance. Oh, you sacrifice that for a little more, you know, toughness and a little more lithium. This stuff we all figured out. The guys who made this modern world, you know, they're all on the ground. They were geniuses. It's thankless. We don't even know their names. You know, what I tell people is, you know, and I'll say this, you'll hear me say this a million times, is you look at an outlet, and what comes? Oh, electricity comes, and it has what hertz? Oh, it's, you know, in Europe, it's 50 hertz, here it's 60 hertz. Hertz was a scientist. You know, how much power? Watts was only scientists. Coulombs, joules, these are all guys. Voltmeter was a person. Ampere was a person. I mean, these guys carved the world out of dirt. And there's no appreciation. I mean, you think one of the Wright brothers lived to see jet aircraft. He lived to see commercial aviation. I mean, we're pathetic. What do we do? We lived it. So I'm finally doing it. Come along for the ride. And if you're in, you know, I'm south of Philadelphia. I'm in Delco. If you're in the area, I need people who want to get shit done. You know, I'm thinking of maybe even doing some kind of technical meetups here. I got the room, and I cleaned up the space. It's presentable. So it's time.